Let's have a look at what is pre-commercial procurement. It's a public procurement. What does that mean? When the public sector wants to buy something, they issue a call for tender, interested suppliers make offers, and the public procurer selects the best offer that suits his needs. Pre-commercial procurement is doing the same, but it's a public procurement that is organized in a specific way with specific characteristics because it's trying to achieve a specific objective. So let's look at that first. What is pre-commercial procurement for? Its first objective is to modernize the public sector, to improve the quality and efficiency of public services. How is it doing that? It's challenging market players to develop innovative solutions to address specific public sector needs. The second objective is to open business opportunities for the supply side. Whilst it is asking for new innovative solutions to be developed, this process is actually encouraging and enabling suppliers, including also the smaller ones, to grow their business and gain leadership in new markets. How does it work then practically? What are the specific characteristics of pre-commercial procurement? Well, it's a procurement that is buying research and development services. Research and development. So, the development of new innovative solutions that don't exist yet on the market. And it's buying services, not commercial volumes of the final end products yet. The second characteristic is that it's using competitive development in phases. What does that mean? Pre-commercial procurement is not buying these research and development services from only one supplier, it's buying it from a number of suppliers in parallel to compare different solution approaches that could possibly solve the same problem the public sector need. And it's doing that in phases to check after specific milestones which of those alternative solutions are really working best in meeting the public sector requirements. Third important characteristic is that pre-commercial procurement is using risk-benefit sharing at market conditions. What does that mean? Every research and development process has risks and benefits, and the benefits of a research and development are to a large extent who can do what with the results, so the intellectual property rights resulting from the research and development. So those are in pre-commercial procurement, the ownership of the IPR rights are left with the suppliers, not with the procurer, and this is reflected in the contract, in the price at market conditions. Because the suppliers are retaining the ownership of their IPR, they can offer, in fact, offers for the procurement at a better price than in case they were not allowed to keep their own IPR. This makes a pre-commercial procurement cheaper than if the IPR would remain with the supplier, and it also makes it for the suppliers better and easier to commercialize their solutions more widely after the pre-commercial procurement to other potential customers on the market. The last objective of pre-commercial procurement is to create growth and jobs in Europe. So to stimulate research and development in Europe, and it can do that because it's a type of procurement, because of the way it is specifically organized, that falls outside of the international WTO government procurement agreement. Is pre-commercial procurement something new? It may be the first time that you hear about it, because typically procurers and suppliers are engaged more in buying directly commercial products and large commercial volumes of products. But pre-commercial procurement is not something new. It exists already since 2007, when the Commission clarified to all the countries in Europe how you can do that. under the legal framework in the European Union. And since then, over 550 pre-commercial procurements have already been implemented out around Europe. If you're interested to see what's been going on so far in your country or in other countries, have a look at our website. On this slide, you see graphically how a pre-commercial procurement fits in the innovation life cycle of a product and in the procurement life cycle of the public sector. So at the moment, we are totally at the left-hand side of the picture in the process doing the open market consultation. We are not buying anything yet at the moment. We are consulting the market about the scope, about the procurement need, and about what could be possible approaches to solve the solution, what is realistic and unrealistic that we could expect the market to do in the upcoming pre-commercial procurement. Once the pre-commercial procurement will be launched, there will be a call for tender, that's the dotted line there, and the vendors that are selected to start will start in the phase 1 of the procurement, so doing a solution design. After that, there is this evaluation that we spoke about to assess which of the solutions are still addressing the public sector need, are feasible both technologically and financially. Those proceed to prototype development, and again after that there is an assessment to see which of them can proceed to the last phase, which is a development and testing of an actual first limited set of products or services, and possibly also already deployment of a limited volume of those resulting solutions. You see immediately the characteristics of pre-commercial procurement there, with multiple vendors developing solutions in parallel, the phased approach, and so on. So here, during this process, the public procurer will be steering this whole research and development process towards its needs by interacting with the suppliers and steering the contract towards its needs. After the pre-commercial procurement is finished, there can be other follow-up procurements. These are normal public procurements that you may know better, using the typical public procurement procedures in your countries for deploying commercial volumes of end products, and those will then wider diffuse the newly developed solutions. You see in the picture in the bubbles supplier, but it could be more than one supplier. It could be a consortium of different suppliers or individual entities, researchers, for example, answering to the call for tender. At the end, in the blue bubble, you see that all possible suppliers that participated in the pre-commercial procurement, whether they made it to the end or not, and even other suppliers on the market, supplier X, could participate to the public procurements of innovative solutions that may follow PCPs, because these are new procurements that are conducted open and transparently according to the rules for those procurements. We had a look so far at what is pre-commercial procurement. Let's have a look now at what it is not. Firstly, it's not a research and development grant. It is really a purchase, a public procurement, so it is demand-driven. The buyer will define the requirements that the solutions need to meet. He will select suppliers based on best value for money and steer the research and development towards its needs. He will determine which vendors continue to the next phase in the process, and the whole transaction, the whole procurement, is a purchase at the market price. So there are no funding rates applied when you receive financing for participating in such a pre-commercial procurement. It is a purchaser, so the procurer is also buying something. He's buying usage and licensing rights, and possibly already deployment of a limited volume of solutions. That is quite different from R&D grants, which are supply side driven typically, so it's the supplier defining and steering the scope of the R&D that he wants to perform, and R&D grants are not procurements, they are subsidies, where a funding rate is applied on the costs, the R&D costs that the supplier makes, and different categories of eligible and non-eligible costs are defined. And a grant, a supplier is also not selling anything to a customer. Another important aspect is that pre-commercial procurement is not a regular procurement of innovative solutions. You will know best the regular procurements for deploying innovative solutions, where the procurer acts as an early adopter to buy and deploy commercial volumes of innovative solutions that are newly arriving on the market. Pre-commercial procurement is, as we discussed, a bit different because it focuses on the research and development phase before the purchase of large commercial volumes of solutions. It focuses on steering development of new solutions to meet public sector needs for which there are no solutions on the market yet. It's comparing and validating alternative solution approaches to reduce the risk for the later big deployment procurements that may come afterwards. And it's offering the possibility of a first customer reference only for non-commercial volumes of solutions, not yet for large quantity production yet. So, now that you know what is pre-commercial procurement, you may wonder why participate to such a procurement. Well, we have evidence that pre-commercial procurements that have already been implemented have several benefits for the supply side. It speeds up the time to market to bring breakthrough innovations to the market. Why? Because it's a co-creation process between the supply and the demand side working together to bring solutions to the market that meet a specific need. It's an opportunity to share the development risks with the first customer, and because of the risk-benefit sharing, to have optimal conditions for wider commercialization to other customers later. The whole process, because of the phased approach with gradually growing assignments from a small solution design up to real delivery and testing of final products, is also facilitating the access of new innovative players and also smaller players to the procurement market. And finally, at the end of the process, you'll have a first customer reference that can help win other contracts and also attract financial investors to your company. So what is the concrete evidence about impacts that pre-commercial procurements have already achieved around Europe? Is it true that they are opening a route to the market for new market players? Yes. Well, on average in public procurement in Europe, the percentage of contracts that go to new market players is not that large, 29%. In pre-commercial procurements, it's more than the double. Also, in value of the total contracts, not in just how many contracts are won by small players. Is it also helping large players to bring products to the market? Yes, a sizable amount of pre-commercial procurement contracts are also won by large companies, either on their own or in collaboration with smaller companies. What about stimulating cross-border company growth around Europe? Well, sadly enough, the average in public procurement in Europe for stimulating cross-border growth is not so fantastic, but in pre-commercial procurement, it is 20 times more. Almost 1/3 of the pre-commercial procurement contracts that have been implemented on Europe were awarded cross-border, not to companies from the same country as the procurer, in other words, but to companies from other countries around Europe. Is it helping to create growth and jobs in Europe? Yes, almost all of the bidders in the pre-commercial procurements in Europe are doing almost all of their R&D also in Europe. Is it helping companies to grow their business? Well, what we can say is that 2 years after the pre-commercial procurement are finished, a vast majority of those contractors that made it really to the last phase of the PCP, 86%, have already commercialized their solutions. And half of all suppliers that participated in all the phases of the PCP, even those that only participated in the beginning, have already generated revenue. In terms of the small companies, SMEs, 1/3 of them have by then already attracted also venture capital backing. So many benefits, in other words, many reasons to participate in a pre-commercial procurement.